Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining me on this Labor Day weekend here at America Winning Coalition. We're the organization that has been taking the country by storm, advancing the Make America Great Again agenda of President Donald J. Trump. We are now broadcasting live on YouTube for the first time. We were broadcasting on Facebook, but we've grown so big, we're becoming so strong, and our reach is so wide, we've decided to broadcast here on YouTube. And in fact, we're not only broadcasting obviously across the United States, but around the entire world. So thank you for joining us, folks. And if you wish to email me about any of the topics that we're going to be talking about within the next 30 minutes, my email will be posted in the feed as we continue to move forward. Now, as I said in the opening statement, that we are dedicated to advancing the Make America Great Again agenda of President Donald Trump. And for more information about the America Winning Coalition, just email me. Tonight on this broadcast and every Monday night at 7:30 p.m., we actually address a lot of recent news, events, and issues surrounding the White House, surrounding our country, and surrounding the president. As you know, there is so much fake news out there. There's so much news where the mainstream media is creating false narratives to hurt the president. We're on the air to make sure that those particular incidents are addressed. Now, let's keep in mind this. Many of you have seen me on Fox, on CNN, and on many of the major news media outlets. Well, when we go on the air, I've got to tell you, a lot of times we're hit with all kinds of false narratives that when you're on the air, it's hard for us to spend the time to actually explain what the truth is. So this is why organizations like ours are doing what we are doing. Now, let's get right to the gist of some particular issues that have come up. Between the time I got ready for the broadcast and now, some more breaking news developed. And one of those bits of breaking news, I'm going to discuss in a minute. But before I do, I just have a couple of reminders here. One, on September 11th, I'll be in Wilmington, North Carolina. That's Wilmington, North Carolina. We'll be at our America Winning Coalition organization event in that city. We're expecting hundreds of people to come. There'll be many congressional candidates. For more information on that, get in touch with us. The email will be posted. That's on September 11th. Yesterday in Edison, New Jersey, it was my honor to address thousands, and I mean thousands. I think there were 10,000 Indian Americans in the audience, where we talked about the contribution of Indian Americans in this country who live here legally, who have contributed so much to the shaping of this country over the many, many years that they've been here. As a matter of fact, I did share with the audience of 10,000 that their contributions to this country have indeed helped make America great again. The President of the United States, I know, respects and loves the Indian Americans in our country, as he does all Americans. But I've got to tell you, I was so impressed and so moved by the reception we got. It's something that I will never forget. Hermant Bat is our Director of Immigration Relations. He is responsible for bringing that whole event in Edison, New Jersey together with his crew. He has a great crew there that worked in partnership with him. Never seen anything like it, folks. And some of that media clip is actually posted on our website that you might want to take a look at that. Now, let's get to some news events. I'll go to the most recent one right now. Normally, I don't comment on some things, but sometimes you just need to say something. Nike, it has been reported tonight that Nike Corporation has hired Colin Kaepernick as their face to the Just Do It campaign. And they're glorifying, folks, the fact that he did what he did. As a result of he did what he did, they're glorifying it. And we know what he did. In my view, he embarrassed himself. He embarrassed this nation. Complete disrespect for the Stars and Stripes, complete disrespect for our veterans, our police officers, our firefighters, by kneeling at the national anthem. Now, I posted that on Twitter just a few minutes ago, and the hate mail, the hate tweets, the hate messages started coming in. And this is the problem with the left. They just don't listen, and they don't read what is being said. Now, they're claiming that I am stating that Kaepernick does not have the right to do what he did. I never said that. He has the First Amendment right to do what he did. He has the First Amendment right to look as foolish as he did. He has the First Amendment right to look like a complete idiot. Because in my view, when people do things like that, there's a time and there's a place. That wasn't the time. It's never the time at an NFL game, in my view. And it isn't the place. I used to watch national football games because it got me away from all the politics, got me away from all the nonsense that's going on, all the bickering and hatred. And this guy decides to go out there and kneel. And then others kneel. And then you got the cheerleaders kneeling. And now you got little league football players kneeling. The fact of the matter is, whatever he was trying to convey has been lost into a ridiculous pit of nonsense. So he disgraced the NFL. He ruined their image as far as I'm concerned. He embarrassed this nation. And now Nike, the company that gives all of our children that gives us the opportunity to buy their wonderful sneakers and shoes or whatever they do these days and shirts. Well, you know what? They're never going to see me purchase any one of their products again. We must stand up, folks, for the principles in which we believe in. And like I said, Kaepernick and anybody who does what he did and continues to do what he did, it's fine. You have a First Amendment right in this country to do that. But I also have a First Amendment right. And you have a First Amendment right to stand up for what you believe is right and proper and just, and to be a role model for our children. I don't want my grandchildren to believe that it's okay to kneel at the national anthem and bow your head or raise your fist or whatever against the flag of this great country. I don't believe that's proper. Now, somebody else might think it's proper. Well, you raise your kid the way you want to raise your kid. But the fact of the matter is that when I was raised and when our generation was raised, when the greatest generation, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids fought in World War II. So Kaepernick, who probably will never see a military uniform, so that he can kneel and do what he did. So it is what it is. But I just felt compelled now to say that because I'm just sick and tired of people doing these things without the mass amount of numbers of political people in our country who are of like mind. They just don't stand up and address it. It is what it is. Now let's get to the other controversial news issue of the week. The John McCain and Aretha Franklin funerals. John McCain and Aretha Franklin, both icons of this United States, both people who contributed so much in their particular fields to this country. No question about it, folks. In my view, John McCain was a hero, POW for many years. Aretha Franklin, her music was actually absolutely wonderful. No question about it. But saying all of that, Al Sharpton at Aretha Franklin's funeral decides to take a cheap shot at the President of the United States. And so did, I believe, Barack Obama. Now, is that the time and place, as I said earlier regarding Kaepernick, is that the time and place honoring an individual like Aretha Franklin to take a cheap shot at the President of the United States? That's not the time or place. Maybe that's the type of funeral that Sharpton believes it was to get up there and make a political statement against the president. Absolutely improper, absolutely indecent, absolutely disrespectful, not only to the president, not only to all the viewers, but in my view, disrespectful to Aretha Franklin. I think she deserved better than that. Now, John McCain. Saying what I said, I mean it. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, a fellow officer of John McCain's, but I would say this. He served his country. What he did politically, absolutely, I don't agree with. But again, for someone to get up there, whether it be a member of his family or a politician, and take shots at the President of the United States, I'll tell you, was improper. There are some politicians afraid to say that. People are saying, well, it was his daughter. She was grieving. Yes, I understand. I get it. But I believe that it would have probably been well served just not to say anything about the president. You said something by not inviting him. And then what does the president do? You know what? He decided to leave the White House and go to Virginia, I think to one of his golf courses. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? He wasn't invited to the funeral, so he decided to go out and spend the rest of his day relaxing. What is wrong with that? But the left and the mainstream media and all of the Trump haters get on that. If he stayed in the White House, they would complain, well, he's held up in the White House. He's not going to show his face. If he was doing something else, they would criticize him over that. The man doesn't get any rest and peace, folks, from the left or from the mainstream media. That's why we're here. We're going to be able to answer them and answer them very decisively as we move forward. We can agree to disagree, but to take potshots at the President of the United States at funerals is probably as low as you can go, as low as you can go. But that's how the left, that's how the mainstream media operates. Now, as a matter of fact, they operate that way because they're desperate. They don't know what to report about anymore. And we're going to be talking about those issues in a minute. Now, let's get to breaking news today about Jeff Sessions. We're finally seeing more and more people in the political realm of things agree that Jeff Sessions has to go. I've been pretty much quiet about him over the past several months, but folks, he's got to go. Jeff Sessions has failed the United States of America. He's failed the Justice Department. And yeah, he's failed the president. Jeff Sessions should have launched an investigation on Hillary Clinton a long, long time ago. He did not. We still ask the questions, Mr. Sessions. Where are the 33,000 emails? Where is the server? Where are the people who should have been subpoenaed before your Justice Department that scrubbed, or what did they use? The term bleached her computer, her drive? None of those people, none of them were brought in and really grilled by the FBI as those who were grilled with regard to the so-called Russia investigation, which, by the way, we are now beginning to believe that there was never, ever, ever a connection between President Trump's campaign and Russia. Never. Where's the evidence? Where in the world is the evidence? Now, the left and the mainstream media will say, well, we're getting there. Well, you said that from week one. We're getting there. And where did we get? We got a few guys that are involved in some bank fraud issues, income tax evasion, and other low-level crimes. Guilty? Yeah, if they're convicted of these crimes, they're guilty. But where is the evidence? Where is the mandate and agenda that Robert Mueller was given to investigate any collusion on the part of the Trump campaign with Russia? It simply does not exist. Now, I am sure, I've got to believe, folks, this is just my opinion, that a lot of the roads that some of these bits of circumstantial evidence were leading Mueller down had to be leading the FBI and the Justice Department to Hillary Clinton and her campaign and the DNC. I got to believe that, folks. I cannot believe that all this information that Mueller has never once led them down a road to Hillary Clinton, her campaign, and the DNC. Hard for me as a law enforcement professional to believe that there's no information that ever came across their desk about those issues. But we'll see. As time goes on, more and more information is going to be revealed. And sooner or later, the bubble is going to bust. And it isn't going to bust on Donald J. Trump. It's going to bust on Mueller, the FBI, Sessions, and probably, maybe, Barack Obama and his Justice Department, as well as Hillary Clinton. So keep an eye on that as we move forward. Very, very important that we base information on facts. But Jeff Sessions has to go. He has to resign as the Attorney General of the United States. Now, in addition to all of this, President Trump has declared a real solid for goodness war on opioids. Now, back in the 70s, when I was a young police officer, you know how we were fighting the war on drugs, folks? We were arresting people. We were looking at other avenues through blue ribbon panels and committees, Senate committee hearings, congressional committee hearings to fight the war on drugs. That was in the 70s. Then the 80s came. And you know what we did, folks? We had more blue ribbon panels, more committee meetings, more arrests of people for every drug from marijuana to whatever. And that's how we were combating the war on drugs in the 80s. But then the 90s came. And boy, this was great. Because you know what we did in the 90s? We had blue ribbon panels. We had more committee meetings, more Senate hearings, more congressional hearings about how we're going to fight the war on drugs. And then 2000 came. The 21st century came. And you know what we did? We had more committee meetings, more congressional hearings. We had absolutely more investigations going on and suggestions and ideas from all of those experts on how to fight the war on drugs. And here we are in 2018 with a real, honest, for goodness leader, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, who said something the other night that was music to my ears. Music to my ears. And I'm sure when I tell you it'll be music to your ears, especially those of you who lived in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. President Trump got up and he said, the time has come to end blue ribbon panels. The time has come to end committee hearings, congressional hearings, and Senate hearings on the war on drugs. The time has come to fight and fight and fight to win the war on drugs. And he's putting together a framework that is going to truly, truly win the war on drugs. But let me give you some statistics that the mainstream media is not sharing with you to give you an idea on how bad it is. And I've got them right here. 72,000 Americans died in the year 2017 from opioids. 72,000 Americans. And some of you who are watching, I'm sure that one of those 72,000 could have been a son, a daughter, aunt, uncle, mom, or dad. None of us, folks, walking in this period of time in the history of our country have been not affected by the drug epidemic. Whether we had a relative die or a friend die from drugs, all of us, all of our households have been affected. Fentanyl, the terrible drug, fentanyl, the terrible drug that is now being distributed all over the country. How about this? From 2016 to 2017, there has been a 50% hike in overdoses. 50%. Could you imagine? So, listen, it's obvious that these unbelievable number of committee hearings and blue ribbon panels have done nothing. Last month, a Maryland state trooper is driving down the freeway there in Maryland, and he stops a car, finds 11,500 fentanyl pills, 61 pounds of methamphetamine, and 214 pounds of heroin. Could you imagine that? Incredible. There was more drugs in that stop than probably any other stop in the history of that state. In fact, I've been told that there were so many drugs that were seized in that stop, it would have wiped out the entire District of Columbia. Could you imagine that? So, the President of the United States says this. One, we absolutely have to help. This is what he said. We have to help people addicted to drugs. And I think it's great that we do that. I believe that those addicted to drugs, it's a very serious health problem. It's not only physical health with the drug itself, but a mental health problem. So people who have children on drugs, people who have children who are addicted to heroin, fentanyl, or any type of drug, they need help. And we should be able to help them at an early age. No problem with that. I've always believed that. Locking kids up who are addicted to drugs, not a good thing, folks. It's an addiction. But saying that, as the president said, drug dealers, drug cartel leaders, death sentence, death penalty, folks. These people should be sent to death for high crimes against this country. In fact, I've said years ago that those who are proliferating drugs around our country and they're turning our cities and towns and our neighborhoods into killing fields as a result of their distribution of drugs, they should be tried as terrorists. And the reason why I say that, they are truly terrorizing neighborhoods. They are terrorizing people across this country because they're distributing a drug that is killing our people. So why is it that the Democrats, why is it that the mainstream media, why is it that the liberals don't want to do that? Why is it that they feel that the penalty of death for a drug dealer is too harsh? Why don't they think about the victims? Why don't they think about those whose family members will never see their loved ones again because of some creep that decided that he was going to make or she was going to make a lot of money on killing the children and young people, and in many cases adults in this nation. So the president says death penalty for those who distribute sell, and manufacture drugs. That's number one. Number two, the Democrats and the liberals, and by the way, I also call them socialists, they ask the question, why should we have a wall? They ask. Why should we have a border patrol? They ask. Why should we have ICE? They ask. They want all these things that the president is recommending to go away. No border wall. We don't need a border patrol. We don't need ICE. Well, the stats that I just shared with you would tell anyone with common sense that the way you begin to stop the drug epidemic and the number of deaths in this country is to prevent it by building a wall. You build a wall in the area where most of the drugs is coming in, and that is on the Mexican-U.S. border. That is one good reason of many reasons why a wall needs to be built to stop the flow of drugs coming into this country, drugs that are being used to kill a generation of Americans. That's number one. Number two, he has suggested, that is the president, that we beef up the Border Patrol all across our southern border, give them the tools they need, the instruments they need, the weapons they need in order to combat the drug cartel and to make sure that none of these individuals cross our border. How do you send police officers out on the street, in this case, Border Patrol personnel who are great heroes, without the equipment that they need to combat a well-armed, well-organized drug cartel? Well, that's what Barack Obama and administrations before President Trump did. They were cutting back on giving them the equipment they need. They didn't want a wall. They didn't want the Border Patrol to make arrests. Talk to some of the people in Brownsville, Texas. Talk to some of the people whose neighborhoods, and in some cases, their homes have been taken over by drug cartel leaders. Talk to them. They want a wall, and they want Border Patrol people up there. In fact, folks, I got to tell you, I believe that the rules of engagement need to change with regard to that war against drugs on the border. Look, I know what I'm about to say is going to cause a firestorm. I know it's going to cause a firestorm, but I'm going to say it anyway. My whole life, all right, and I believe in the rights of people. When you arrest people, you give them their right to remain silent. You give them their right to get an attorney, and on and on and on. You do that as a police officer. Sometimes the rules of engagement, like in the border area, must be changed. And the reason why I say that is there is more of a military action that needs to be taken down there than law enforcement. So if you're taking a military action against what is a quasi-military force, which in my view are your drug cartel members. Look, at these drug cartel people and their organizations are not kids on a street corner deciding to cross the border with M16s and small arms. These people are built like an army. They've got regiments, they've got divisions, they've got all sorts of organization put together to cross the border and then to meet any challenge that's going to stop them. Because their goal is money, folks, and they will kill anyone in their path to get across the border and to make sure that the money is going to be flowing back into their country, into their organization. So that's right. They don't deserve rights. They do not deserve any right if they're coming to this country to kill people. They should be treated, once again, here we go. They should be treated as enemy combatants because they are the enemy of the people. So now I know after the broadcast, come on, bring it on all the liberals and the socialists, just bring it on. Because you know what? I'm more concerned about the right of innocent people in this country to live, the right of our children to live, the right of American citizens who obey the law and go to work and work so hard to raise their families. I am more concerned about those rights than the rights of some creep crossing the border trying to take those rights away. That's what I'm concerned about. And I know that's what the president's concerned about. And I know that's what most of the American people are concerned about. And then you got the Democrat, socialist, liberals wanting to get rid of ICE. They want to get rid of ICE, folks, because ICE is doing their job. Now, by ICE arresting illegal immigrants, of course, what they're doing is, folks, they're putting an end to a lot of the possibility of drug cartel members crossing the border. Of course, they're addressing the crime issue, but ICE is doing something else when they arrest illegal immigrants. They're arresting, for the most part, future illegal voters. They're arresting people who shouldn't be voting. Now, there are people in this country who are illegal immigrants who are being registered to vote. This has been reported, all right? This has been reported. I haven't seen any confirmation except on one or two news media outlets, but I like to check things out. But it's been reported that the Democrats are working very hard to ensure that immigrants in this nation, illegal have you, will have the ability to vote. It's mind-boggling. Now, is it not true that there are illegal immigrants that are now being given driver's license? They're being given driver's license. Now, here's how illegal immigrants could vote. You could go to some voting stations in this country and not show ID. You don't have to show your ID. Just come on in. What's your name? Joe Smith. I live in Mexico City. Go ahead, go vote. That's what it's come to. I know it sounds kind of, ridiculous, but that's what it's come to. Come on in. Where are you from? Guatemala. Good. Here. You don't need ID. Just go in and vote. Where are you from? Well, I've been working my whole life. I'm from San Francisco. I work in a mill that does clothes. I was born here. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You were born in the United States? That's right, sir. Well, just wait. Go over there. We're going to have to check you out. What's up is down and what's left is right. It's crazy. But this is what we've come to, folks. A land of lawlessness. And President Trump wants to make sure we return to becoming a land of laws. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That flag behind me here, look at it. Look at it hard. That is not a flag of entitlement. That is a flag of empowerment. Everyone in this country who is here legally has the opportunity to get a job and to get a good education. Saying that, I'll hear from people, well, there are people who are poor who get a real tough start. There are. I grew up in a poor neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York. My parents worked every day, both of them, walked miles and miles and miles to factories in New York so that they could provide for 3 children, 3 of us, and they did. And then I was taught a work ethic. I was told by my father, the second I turned 18, it was either go out and get a job or go into the United States military or go into the street, because I am not going to pay your way the rest of your life. Boy, did that shake me up. What was I going to do? Of course, as you grow, you realize your dad is not going to put you in the street. But he shook me up enough where I went into the military. And it was from there that I launched my career. As a U.S. naval officer, I became a police officer, and now I'm doing the things I'm doing with the President's Advisory Board and with America Winning Coalition. It's called a work ethic. It's called the ethic that President Trump gave his children. They were never handed anything on a silver platter. You read about the history of the president and his family. Were there problems? Yes. Were there ups and downs? Yes. We all have problems. We all have ups and downs in our families. But he taught them a work ethic. They were never handed anything on a silver platter. They were never taught to worship the almighty dollar. They were taught to worship the almighty God. So nobody could ever dispute that those kids are good kids and that he raised and his wife raised good kids who understand the value of a dollar because they went to work. So these are the things that are going on. These are the things that we're looking at this week. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Number 1, email me. That's Steve at awcnj.us, Steve at awcnj.us. Now, you go right ahead and you email me, and every single week you will receive a Make America Great Again newsletter and briefing update. We got links right to the White House press office. We've got links to all sorts of organizations where you could actually check out every bit of information that we give you, because what we give you is not fake, it's real. So that's something that I know you're going to enjoy. I know you're going to want. In addition to that, folks, you're going to receive information on the events that we are going to be at. the events that we're going to, and particularly here in New Jersey, and we're going to start with North Carolina and New York, where we have 2 other offices. We're going to have the New Jersey GOP county events in that newsletter. In Sussex County, New Jersey, for example, they've sent me a list of events they're going to have in the next 30 days. That'll be published in our newsletter. Or if there's going to be New York GOP events, North Carolina GOP events, we're going to do this all over the country, because many of you have asked me, how do I get involved? That's you. What can you do to get involved in helping the president's agenda and helping your country? All you got to do is email us. Stay home. We'll send you the information, and just send it out, folks. Send it out to all the people that are on your social media platforms. That's what you can do. And you could help us in a lot of other ways. Now, here's the neat thing about the America Winning Coalition. This is really neat, folks. You ready? This is the kicker. We never ask for contributions. We never ask for donations. I don't want to have anything to do with your pocketbook. But what I have to do with is your heart, your soul, and your spirit, and your patriotism. That's all we're looking for. That's all we are looking for. If you want to help out, not going to cost you a dime. We're not going to look for any money. We're looking for you and your commitment to this country, to that God and country framework that our founders gave us, to help that shining city on a hill that Ronald Reagan talked about, and to help make America great again that Donald J. Trump has been truly, truly working very hard on. And that's all we need. So look, that's it. 30 minutes, right? 8:01. So I'm going to ask you to share this video all over the place. We have seen our Facebook numbers grow from 500 to 16,000 as I speak with you now. Our Twitter numbers from 700 or 800 to 46,000 as I speak to you now. Our Instagram numbers went from about 900 now to over 9,000. Why is that happening? Because the message is resonating with Americans and people from different countries all over the world. So until next Monday night, folks, at 7:30 p.m., I thank you so much. And by the way, during the week, email me. We'll get back to you. If I don't get back to you personally, somebody will. Any questions you have about anything, just email us, and we'll be more than happy to share any bits of information we have with you. And I always close with this. Remember, no matter what you're facing, no matter what you're going through, family crisis, drug problem, as we talked about, job, unemployment, whatever, anxiety, fear about where our nation is being led, there's a God above. There is a God above that is still in the business of answering prayers. That good Bible says, fear not, for I am with you, for I am the Lord thy God. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the President of the United States. See you September 11th in North Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina.